Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Read Step. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz, and first I want to say I apologize for the last video that came out. It came out really wonky. I don't even know why less than half of the video came out. It's supposed to be much longer, but there was just a lot going on. I didn't feel good, but I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not sick anymore, and I wanted to give kind of an immediate reaction to what we just saw earlier today, or I should say, I guess officially yesterday. It's 1:08 here where I'm at. But no, college football Saturday, week 3 was, pretty interesting games. Some games not so interesting, but we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with my Oklahoma Sooners. They went to Philadelphia and they went to go and play Temple. Oklahoma wins the game 42-3. It was a very dominant game for the Oklahoma Sooners. As of right now, obviously, for anybody who's been paying attention or watching, whether it's just SEC football or if you're a fan of Oklahoma, Oklahoma is seemingly just offensively just very, very dominant, very, very hard to stop. John Mateer continues to put himself in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy candidacy this early on in the season. The receiving core is playing particularly well. Some of the surprises, though, is one of the running backs, the freshman running back for Oklahoma, Balak. He had 100, literally exactly 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Jaden Ott not really receiving a whole lot of attention. He only had 4 carries for 11 yards. So kind of a surprise there that I've been seeing over the last few weeks. Jaden Ott really has not been a part of this offense. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on over there in Norman, Oklahoma, but Balak has seemed to be the bell cow for this team so far over the last few weeks of the season, along with Javonte Barnes as well, who's been with the program for at least a couple of years now. But Oklahoma looks really, really good. Defensively, they still look stout. They still look very, very physical. And like I mentioned, the defensive line is still one of the better defensive lines, and they're proving me right, which has been very fun for me to see as an Oklahoma fan now. But one of the things that I wanted to mention really quick was because this is something that's been kind of an issue, the targeting penalty on Mason Thomas was just absolutely ridiculous. I feel like that whole rule is just broken. I don't understand what constitutes for targeting. It didn't even look like a targeting, and we're going to get into another game where there's a guy kicked out of the game for targeting as well. I think it's just a stupid-ass rule that's being overly... I don't like it. There's been some college football heads and football fans that have made their voices very clear about it. I'm on social media today, but I'm glad they did, because I'm glad I'm not the only one. There was just very questionable calls when it comes to targeting. I don't know why. I don't know what the NCAA has against a player, making a common tackle. It's just kind of ridiculous and kind of stupid. But Mason Thomas I believe he got ejected of the game for a ridiculously BS targeting call. Which I don't know, I wasn't a fan of. I don't like the rule. I think it's very stupid. I think it's broken, kind of like I mentioned. But other than that, again, I thought Oklahoma played very, very well. Very convincing fashion, obviously, 42-3 as the final score. Offensively, they're going to be hard to stop no matter whether they go into the SEC play or not. I'm excited to watch them finally head into SEC play. They're going to be going up against Auburn next week. Jackson Arnold playing his former team, and I believe it's going to be... just to double check. Yeah, it's going to be in Oklahoma. So Jackson Arnold returning back to Norman, Oklahoma, where he essentially at some point got benched, and obviously he transferred, went to Auburn, and now he's going to be coming back looking for a revenge game. Oklahoma, especially defensively, they're going to need to play even the same level of physicality that they played against Michigan. We're going to need to see that against Auburn next week. Offensively, again, I don't see many teams around the country that are going to be able to stop Oklahoma offensively. They're too good. John Mateer is too good. He has his quarterback coach back. He has Ben Arbuckle that he brought with him to from Wazoo also. And they're just a hard offense to stop. The offense, there is no shortage of plays. There is no shortage of sections of the playbook that is not being given to John Mateer. And it is very, very evident. He's available to do everything and anything that's in that playbook. In this offense, and then you throw in the weapons like Deion Burks, Balak now. You have Jaden Ott that's still back there. You have some of the other receivers that are some pretty good weapons that he has too. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the SEC, I believe. And I think so far they've proven it. So far, they had that test last week against Michigan. But now they're going to get into SEC play. They should be beating Auburn. They should beat Kent State. Now going into Texas, obviously Texas doesn't look very good. Arch Manning doesn't look like a very good quarterback. But they should go into Dallas to play Texas in the Red River Shootout, 5-0, with a lot on the line against Texas in a game that I think they could win. One of the other games I wanted to talk about was Georgia, Tennessee. Georgia, Tennessee, man, what a game that was. Talk about back and forth, the score. I sound like a total buffoon right now, but lead change after lead change after lead change. This was one hell of a game. Not surprised at all that it went into overtime, but one hell of a game. It looked for a while that Tennessee just really did take command of the game. And eventually Georgia did what Georgia does, and they pulled back in, and they went out. They found a way to win, and that's what champions do. So, yeah, I mean, Tennessee, for sure, I think they're going to be a legit team in the SEC this year. It's 3 weeks in. They barely got their first loss in a tough game against Georgia over at Rocky Top. But nonetheless, this was a hard-fought battle. This was a great game between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Tennessee Volunteers. Just absolutely outstanding. I don't think Tennessee is going to drop too far. Georgia's going to stay around the same, probably move up to about 5 or 4. But this was such a great game. Tennessee started the game. You got at one point it was 21-17, 28-27 in the third, and then get into the fourth quarter. Tennessee scores 10 points, Georgia scores 11, and then in overtime is obviously when it happened. Tennessee could only muster up a field goal while Georgia went ahead and got the game-winning touchdown. So, but overall, I thought it was one hell of a game. I thought it was a great game between the two. It was the game that Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit called, and rightfully so. I mean, I think it lived up to it. This was tough. This is the type of games you watch the SEC for. These are the type of games that you expect to play out week in and week out when it's two top teams battling it out, especially down in that conference. I think the SEC is still going to be a deep conference. I've said that before. They have amazing teams this year that are really going to be testing each other a lot throughout the year, and this was one of them. Georgia, Tennessee doesn't get much bigger than that. We know about the history. We know about a little bit of the rivalry, and this was a fun game to watch. These are two teams that I can definitely see making the college football playoff, possibly seeing each other again in the college football playoffs as well. Excuse me. But Georgia goes ahead and wins it 44-41. In an absolute thriller. Again, one hell of a game, a great game. It was very much, at least for me and here and these four walls, it was very much, oh, dang. I don't even know what I'm trying to do, but I got very excited watching the game. And it was just the type of game that you enjoy watching. You're not getting bored. It's not a 70-0 blowout, a 76-13 blowout. This is the type of game, these are the type of matchups that we like to see. And these are the type of games now that we could afford that can really, I mean, I know these teams are in the same conference, but these are the type of games that, like I mentioned before, can afford to be played early on in the season because, you know, a one-loss Tennessee, if they continue to play the way that they've been playing and they continue to win more games, get to 9 or 10 wins, or probably more, possibly, you know, that's not going to short them of a playoff appearance or anything like that. They're a great team. They played very well today, but Georgia, you know, they still have that championship DNA. They fought back and they came out on top, and they did what they needed to do in order to get this win over in Rocky Top. Not a very easy place to play at all. Very loud environment. The crowd was buzzing, and it was a hard-fought win. But, you know, shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs being able to pull that off. How about Texas A&M versus Notre Dame? Talk about another game where it was so back and forth, lead change after lead change after lead change. Now, I wasn't able to watch this game because I didn't have the network that in order to watch it. But this was one hell of a game between Texas and Notre Dame. Both tough teams, both teams that really needed to get a win, and especially for Notre Dame. Yeah, starting off the season, you play Miami, you lose, and now you go They're 0-2 in the season. I'm not sure if they're even ranked tomorrow, to be completely honest with you. Meanwhile, Texas A&M proving that they're a team that's going to be somebody that's going to need to be reckoned with. And starting off the season 3-0 as a number 16 team in the country coming into this game. I can't comment too much on this because I wasn't able to watch it, but I did see a lot of the scoring updates live as I was watching another game that we're going to get to in a little bit. But that is one hell of a game and a great win for Texas A&M. Notre Dame starting off 0-2. I get it. You have Miami and you have Texas A&M to start off the season. They're going to go, and let's take a look at their schedule. Notre Dame from here on out, they have Purdue next. They should get that win. Then they have Arkansas, which Arkansas could give them some trouble, but I'm going to say Notre Dame beats them. Then they have Boise State, NC State. You have USC coming into South Bend over on October 18th. And you have Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and then Stanford. So a lot of winnable games on their schedule still. But these first two games right here, Miami and Texas A&M, you had to at least gotten one if you're Notre Dame. Starting off the season 0-2, it's not going to look very good, especially in the way that you lost. Yes, there's times where Texas A&M had the lead and then Notre Dame came back. But overall, Notre Dame coming off of a national championship appearance, they needed to come out and at least start off the first two games 1-1, and unfortunately for the Fighting Irish, it didn't happen. However, it's a great win for Texas A&M, like I mentioned. It's a great win for the SEC, and really, I would say overall, it was a pretty good weekend for the SEC in general, and this really almost in a way being the icing on the cake. So, great win for Texas A&M. Another amazing, hard-fought battle between two possibly elite teams in the country, at least heading into this game. And it was an exciting victory for the Texas A&M Aggies. Can't say much about it, but overall, great win for Texas A&M, great win for the SEC. One game that I kind of did want to talk about a little bit was Vanderbilt, South Carolina. Vanderbilt, obviously, last year, their big win was against Alabama, knocking them off for the first time, I think, for a long time, but it was their first victory over the number one team in the country, I think, in program history. This year, they're coming into the game against South Carolina 2-0, looking to go 3-0 and make a statement. And boy, oh boy, did they make a statement. 31-7, Vanderbilt wins over South Carolina. I don't know what to say. South Carolina, obviously, I had said that they had 3 of the top 10 in the last video, 3 of the top 10 players, or could have 3 of the top 10 players in college football. That this game might have shut me up about that. South Carolina was a team that I was very high on because of, Nick Harbor, like I mentioned, Nick Harbor, Dylan Stewart, and obviously Lenora Sellers, and the fact that this is a pretty embarrassing and a pretty embarrassing loss for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Lenora Sellers, 6 for 7, 94 yards. He had an interception. He might have also, So Lenora Sellers, gets knocked out of the game. That's one thing that I didn't see because I was too busy watching one of the other games. But Lenora Sellers ended up getting knocked out for the game by the time he already had 7 attempts throwing. But I think regardless, Vanderbilt still should not have, with all due respect to Vanderbilt, this still should have been a game for South Carolina to go and win. Your South Carolina, besides not having Lenora Sellers, you still have an excellent team. You still have Nick Harbor. You still have Dylan Stewart. You still have some of these other weapons that they have. And for South Carolina to go out and lose in the fashion that they did, it's not a very good look. They're going to definitely drop from 11. They're probably going to end up being somewhere in between 16 to 20. But again, dominant win for Vanderbilt. They should be excited about it. They're going to go play Georgia State next, Utah State, and then they're going to go play Alabama at Alabama. We all know that's going to be a game that's probably going to be watched a lot, especially after what happened last year, and Alabama's going to want to get their lick back. So, but I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Vanderbilt takes the win over South Carolina, despite Lenora Sellers being knocked out of the game. Vanderbilt wins 31-7. Now, Georgia Tech versus Clemson. Okay, Georgia Tech versus Clemson. I gotta say, I'm happy for Georgia Tech. They've done an excellent job of building that program the last couple of years. Their head coach has done an amazing job of building a new building a culture, building a new culture of winning. Obviously, last year they had amazing wins on their record, starting off with beating FSU in Ireland last year to start off the season. But this is an impressive win for the Georgia Tech. Why am I like I cannot like why on God's green earth am I having a hard time with their mascot? I am so sorry. But no, Georgia Tech, hell of a win for them. They're going to go and beat Clemson. And as far as Clemson, for anybody that doesn't know or didn't see Clemson, for one, they're now 1-2. They lost 24-21. But I thought some interesting comments that Dabo Swinney made after today's game was comparing this team to the 2016 Deshaun Watson-led Clemson Tigers that went to national titles, won national titles. I don't know who needs to break it to him, but this is not the 2016 or mid-2010s Clemson teams. I'm sorry, but it's not. Cade Klubnik is good, but he's not Deshaun Watson good. And I mind you, I'm somebody who thought Cade Klubnik was going to be one of the Heisman Trophy candidates. I even picked Clemson as one of the teams to go to the national title, and it just doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Starting off 1-2, you lose to LSU week 1, and LSU is one of the top teams, fine. You almost too close for comfort against Troy last week, and now you lose to Georgia Tech. You go play Syracuse next, North Carolina, Boston College, SMU. SMU is going to look to continue to make a push after that loss a couple weeks ago. They're going to look to I think they're going to battle Clemson pretty tough. Florida State looks legit. They're looking to be the new face other than Miami of the ACC, especially now with Clemson losing. And then you finish off with South Carolina. So Clemson legitimately can be in really big trouble here. Now that they're 1-2, I could see them finishing with 4 losses or 5 losses. It doesn't look good for Dabo Swinney and Clemson, though. It doesn't look good. I think heading into the season, I think people might have probably taken Clemson over LSU I took LSU to beat Clemson, and that's what happened. But you could have made the argument that Clemson goes in and they beat LSU, but that's not the case. Now you go and you lose to Georgia Tech. I don't know how Clemson is going to recover from this other than, again, I think they have a real possibility of losing 4 or 5 games, which is not going to be good. It's not going to get them to the playoffs, and it's not going to get them to the ACC championship game this year. But that was another great game. There's so many good games in week 3, by the way. But this was another one. Having Georgia Tech quickly run off the field and bring it on the kicking unit, and then the kicker goes and knocks it through. Georgia Tech wins 24-21 in an absolute thriller. Fans rushed the field, and rightfully so. It was a great win for Georgia Tech, and they are your victors for this Week 3 matchup. As you can see, I'm kind of like going through all of these. Not going to get through every single game, but I'm going to get through most of them, at least some of the big ones. But I do want to go and now talk about one of the games of the week. LSU versus Florida. Man, this one. Oh man. As you guys know, if you don't know, I was really high on DJ Lagway. I'm a big fan of his. And I thought he could have been a real candidate as he should have been, a real candidate for the Heisman Trophy. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier, another one of the guys that's going to be a top candidate for the Heisman Trophy. LSU coming into this game 2-0, looking like one of the top teams in the country. Florida battling, obviously just lost to South Florida and wasn't a very good look. So I will say this. I thought that Florida could come in to Death Valley and give LSU a good fight and possibly even win this game, because this is going to be a big game for Florida heading into this week. So I thought they could have gone in, battled it out with LSU, and at the end, LSU goes and they win in a tough SEC matchup. That was not the case. Despite the score being 20-10, the score really did feel more like 35-10. Felt more like 42-10. Let's just start. I haven't really been going through some of the box scores, but I do need to go through this one. DJ Lagway was 33 of 49, 287 yards with a touchdown, and it was so bad I just choked myself on myself. A touchdown and 5 interceptions. Mind you, those interceptions were 1,000% on DJ Lagway. It was an ugly, ugly game for him. This is something that he's definitely going to have to be watching a lot of tape on. He's going to have to learn from. I think this loss is on DJ Lagway more than Billy Napier, more than anybody else on that Florida team. The Florida, somehow, some way, was still in this game for the majority of the night. Obviously, 20-10 is not a really huge margin. There's plenty of times for anybody that saw the game where Florida could have easily gone down the field. You get a touchdown, you get a field goal. Now it's a one possession game, or you get a touchdown. It's a 3-point game, and it was just constant pick after pick after pick after pick. LSU's defense is legit, but some of these throws by DJ Lagway were god awful, absolutely god awful. Not much to say. I mean, and again, there's really not even much else to say about it. I think this was the tale of the game. It was Florida being absolutely horrendous, specifically DJ Lagway. I can't defend him today. Horrendous game by DJ Lagway. He knows it. I think the players know it, fans know it, coaches know it. It's a game that he really struggled in for sure, and it's a game that he's going to have to learn from. Same thing with Florida. They have a tough schedule coming in. They have Miami next. I don't see them beating Miami. Then they have Texas. Then they have Texas&m. Then they have undefeated Mississippi State. Then you have Georgia, and then Kentucky, and then Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. Florida legitimately, probably right now, arguably has the most difficult schedule remaining in the SEC. Given how obviously this is shaped up now, over the next few weeks, it's going to shape up a little bit different. But to go, now you have Miami, and then Texas, and then Texas&m, and then Mississippi State, and then Georgia, and then Kentucky, and then you have Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. Good Lord, have mercy on the Gators' soul. Wow. This is a team that could forget about, the last time I talked about 4 or 5 losses. There's a chance here if Florida doesn't pick it up, they could have 6, 7 losses, or probably more than that. Florida's really, really struggling right now as a program. DJ struggled today, that's for sure. Billy Napier's been struggling as a coach. And overall, just an absolutely crazy, just in all the worst ways possible, crazy game for the Florida Gators. Now on to the other side of the ball. Garrett Dessmeyer did his thing, 15-27, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Xavier Thomas had the 1 score as for the wide receiver group, but really, I mean, the game was had on the defensive side of the ball. Once again, for the LSU Tigers, they go and you have Deshaun Spears, a couple of interceptions, including a pick 6. AJ Halsey had a pick. DJ Pickett had a pick. And Tamarcus Cooley had a pick. That's a total of 5 interceptions on the day. And just the normal pass rushers you've been getting from this front 7, especially from, I'm so sorry, guys. It's late. I'm like blanking out. Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins obviously has had a couple of unfortunate years during his time at LSU being hurt. He started as a freshman, as one of the best freshman players in all of college football. And the next 2 years after that, just always hurt, unfortunately. But this year is I believe it might be his last year of eligibility. He has been healthy, and he's been making an absolutely destructive presence against some of the biggest games this year. Against Florida today and against Miami to start the season off. Wait, right? It was Miami? No, sorry, Clemson. I'm sorry, Clemson. Starting off the game against the season with Clemson, he also had a big game. And sometimes, sometimes with Harold Perkins, it might not even be a sack. It might not even be an interception. But he gets pressure on the quarterback. And when it comes down to, a critical 4th down, critical 3rd down, the offense needs to get a 1st down. He's either making the sack or he's forcing the quarterback to throw it out of bounds or throw a bad pass. And sometimes playmakers and impact makers aren't always the ones that are making the play, making the highlight, but it's the guys like that that are going and doing what is necessary and doing everything it takes them to have an impact on those critical plays as a defensive player, especially somebody like him who gets to the quarterback in a hurry and is one of the better pass rushers in all of college football. LSU absolutely dominated this game. Like I said, it felt more like a 35-10 win, 42-10 win with the 5 interceptions that they had. Florida had plenty of chances to go out and win this game, but at the end of the day, unfortunately for Florida, they couldn't do it, and it was a disastrous game all around, but especially for DJ Lagway with those 5 thrown interceptions. Now, that's pretty much all we're gonna get into today. Tomorrow, I'm gonna give my reaction and talk about the NFL because obviously it's NFL Sunday. But I did want to put this video out and put it out immediately. It should be available by 10 a.m. By the time you're watching this, 10 a.m. local time, 9 a.m. back home on the West Coast, 12 p.m. over on the East Coast if you're over there. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for being patient with me. I feel a lot better. Don't feel sick anymore. And hopefully, with doing these slightly shorter videos, could get them out there a lot better. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Love shooting the shit with you guys and talking about football. We'll talk to you guys later on the next episode of The Breed Step. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz. Peace out, guys.